sponsor exchange visas. Visa sponsorship is a privilege, and sponsors whose conduct tarnishes our nation's interests will lose that privilege. Is the big piece of news that's coming in from the continuing war between Harvard and the Trump administration. I'm joined by my colleague.
Trump's White House just launched a federal investigation into Harvard University's Scholar Exchange program. And no, it's not about legacy admissions, free speech, or affirmative action. It's about national security. According to senior officials, the probe is focused on whether foreign scholars, especially those from China, used Harvard's exchange pipeline to gain access to sensitive research, circumvent visa protocols, or embed deeper into U.S. institutions without proper oversight. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's a full-scale government move backed by the Trump camp's return-to-power foreign policy hawks. And it's already got universities, academics, and immigration experts scrambling. Because if Harvard is the first to get hit, others might be next. Here's the thing. This isn't the first time a US president has clashed with the academic world, but it might be one of the most politically charged. Universities like Harvard operate on the idea of global openness, inviting scholars, researchers, and students from every part of the world to collaborate. That's their model. It's what made them powerful in the first place. But to politicians like Trump, that same openness is a vulnerability. This is the larger battle playing out right now. On one side, elite universities pushing for unrestricted global academic exchange. On the other, political forces arguing that these same institutions have become blind spots for foreign infiltration and espionage. The Trump team, especially the folks now circling back for 2024, see this as unfinished business. Back in his first term, they cracked down on Chinese telecoms, research partnerships, and student visas. This probe into Harvard? It's round 2. And this time, they're not starting with low-level schools. They're going straight for the top. This story isn't just about Harvard. It's about what happens when education, politics, and global power start pulling in opposite directions. Over the next few minutes, we're going to break this down piece by piece. What exactly Harvard's Scholar Exchange program does and who it brings in. Why Trump's allies are targeting it now. What role China plays in the investigation. How this could reshape immigration, research partnerships, and the future of international students. And why this clash between Ivy League institutions and populist politics is only just beginning. If you think this is just another headline that'll fade away, don't bet on it. This probe could change how universities vet scholars, share research, and even define who gets to come to America to learn. Stay with us, because we're diving straight into the heart of this investigation. So let's get clear. What exactly is this Scholar Exchange program that's suddenly under a federal microscope? Harvard's Scholar Exchange program is part of a long-standing academic tradition. It brings in foreign researchers, PhDs, postdocs, visiting fellows to study, teach, or collaborate on projects across departments. We're not talking about tourists. These are highly credentialed academics who work on everything from medical research and public policy to AI and tech development. Many of them are sponsored by their home governments, often through cultural exchange visas like the J-1 visa. On paper, it's about cooperation, learning, and global prestige. But critics, especially inside the Trump orbit, see something else. A loophole that foreign governments might exploit. A way for bad actors to embed themselves into sensitive labs and research. And a visa pipeline that's not nearly as secure or scrutinized as it should be. And that's why this program matters, because if there's even a hint that it's been compromised, whether by poor oversight or intentional deception, it opens the door to an even bigger question. How many other elite universities are vulnerable too? Harvard's name just makes it the biggest, boldest target. Now we get to the real heat, China. For years, US intelligence officials have warned about the Chinese government using academic and research institutions as soft targets for espionage. The FBI has openly stated that China poses the greatest long-term threat to America's intellectual property. And universities? They're often the front lines. Why? Because academic environments value transparency, while espionage thrives in opacity. When international scholars enter through exchange programs, they're not usually subjected to the same vetting that defense contractors or government employees are. That creates opportunity. Here's where the Harvard probe fits in. Trump's national security circle is alleging that certain scholars, particularly those tied to Chinese state institutions, used the program to access sensitive research. Not military-grade secrets necessarily, but cutting-edge AI, biomedical innovation, quantum computing, the kinds of tech that define global power in the 21st century. There's no formal accusation yet, but this isn't just theoretical. There have already been high prefaces tied to similar programs at other universities, MIT, Harvard Med, and others. And now the Trump team is arguing if this has happened before, why wouldn't it be happening at the most elite university in the country? It's not paranoia if it's already happened. Here's a question you have to ask. Why now? Why, in the middle of a heated election cycle, is the Trump camp suddenly turning its focus back to universities, and Harvard of all places? There are two answers, and both might be true. First, national security. Some Trump-aligned intel officials genuinely believe academic institutions are a backdoor for Chinese state actors. And to be fair, there's evidence from past DOJ investigations that these concerns aren't pulled from thin air. But let's not ignore the second answer, politics. Harvard is everything the MAGA base loves to hate. Elitist, globalist, liberal, and symbolic of the coastal intellectual class that Trump has targeted since day one. Going after Harvard isn't just about espionage. It's about framing Trump as the outsider fighting back against elite institutions that many Americans no longer trust. So this probe? It's more than a legal move, it's a campaign message. See? The universities are selling you out, and I'm the only one willing to stop it. That's not just strategy, that's populism in action. Harvard's public response? Almost total silence. No press conference, no defensive statement, no fiery denial from the president of the university. Why? Because when the federal government opens a probe into your operations, especially one tied to national security, you don't talk, you lawyer up. Behind the scenes, though, it's a different story. Sources close to the administration say Harvard has already begun, conducting internal audits of its scholar intake, reviewing past J-1 visa sponsorships, quietly reaching out to legal teams with experience in federal investigations. They're also tapping high-powered DC lobbyists. Why? Because they know this isn't just about Harvard, it's about precedent. If they fall, other universities could face the same scrutiny. But here's the tricky part. If Harvard fights back too loudly, it looks defensive. If they say nothing, they look guilty. It's a lose-lose PR scenario, so they're playing it safe, calculating every move and hoping to contain the fire before it spreads. The school might project confidence in public, but behind closed doors, they're treating this like the start of a much bigger storm. If you think this is just about Harvard, think again. This probe is sending shockwaves through every major US university that relies on international talent. Because here's the truth. Foreign scholars are the backbone of US research. They fill critical roles in science, engineering, medicine, and tech. They bring funding, innovation, and global prestige. But with a single federal investigation, all of that is now under a microscope. Universities are already tightening visa procedures. Legal teams are re-evaluating scholar partnerships. Departments that used to celebrate collaboration are now hesitating before signing off on overseas fellowships. And it's not just the institutions feeling it. International students and visiting scholars are starting to ask, am I next? Will my visa be revoked? Is America still a safe place to study, or am I suddenly a suspect? The message this probe sends, intentional or not, is that openness is now a liability, that international talent, even the best and brightest, could be viewed through a lens of suspicion. And if that mindset takes hold, America risks losing the very edge that's kept its universities world-class for decades. This story isn't just about visas or research partnerships, it's about something deeper, something that's been building since 2016. The clash between elite institutions and the populist right. Trump's base doesn't trust Harvard or Yale or Silicon Valley. To them, these aren't centers of excellence. They're symbols of unchecked power, globalism, and ideological control. Harvard, meanwhile, represents a worldview built on internationalism, meritocracy, and academic freedom. So when the Trump camp probes Harvard's exchange program, it's not just an investigation, it's a shot across the bow. A message that no one, not even the Ivy League, is untouchable. It's a live-fire conflict between two visions of America. One that embraces global collaboration, even at the risk of national exposure. And one that demands absolute control of borders, ideas, and institutions, even if it means shutting doors. That's the real weight of this story. It's not about paperwork, it's about power and who gets to decide the future of America's place in the world. This isn't theoretical, it's playing out in real time, and Harvard just became ground zero. Zoom out, and this story is no longer about one university or one investigation. It's about what kind of country America wants to be in 2024 and beyond. This probe hits three pressure points at once. Politics, because it sets the tone for a campaign built on populist backlash. Higher education, because it forces elite institutions to choose between openness and scrutiny. And national identity, because it asks, who gets to come here? Who gets to study here? Who do we trust? In a single move, Trump's camp has tapped into the growing distrust between government and academia. They've turned Harvard into a stand-in for every institution the populist right believes has failed them. And make no mistake, this won't stop at Harvard. Other schools are watching, foreign scholars are watching, so are voters. Because this isn't just a legal probe, it's a cultural line in the sand, between globalism and nationalism, between intellectual freedom and national security. And wherever you stand on that divide, this story just made the front lines a lot clearer. This isn't just about Harvard. It's about who controls the flow of global talent and ideas. If the White House can target the most powerful university in America, what does that mean for smaller schools, for young researchers with big dreams, for international students who once saw the US as the gold standard for education? This probe is about more than espionage. It's about defining what America values and what it fears. So ask yourself, should universities be open to the world no matter the risk? Or should national security draw a hard line, even if it means turning people away? Whatever your answer, here's what we know. This story isn't going away, and neither is the fight between elite institutions and rising political power. If you want more straight-to-the-point breakdowns of stories that actually matter, subscribe. Hit the bell so you don't miss what comes next. And drop a comment. Do you think this probe is justified, or is it just political theater? The truth lives somewhere in the tension. We're here to unpack it.